Well, good morning from Cottage Farmstead. I'm Rebecca, and we have a very cool morning here for the middle of June. So I thought I'd take a moment and walk around the garden with you so you can see everything that is blooming. We got fruit starting to come in, some squash. I think some of the beans are starting to set. So we have a lot of things that have changed since last month's garden tour that I'll link above and down below. So let's take a look around. First up here is the raspberries. We were able to sample our very first ones a couple days ago, and there's a few more coming. This is the first year that these were planted here. We got some more mature canes so that they would bear a little bit of fruit. And it looks like we're gonna get a fair amount, not enough to preserve, but enough to enjoy fresh eating this year. So we've had a very cool spring and start to summer. Typically by this time of the year, we're already in like the upper 90s with high humidity. So a lot of the stuff in our garden is stunted. So a lot of things that would be taller, bushier by this point in the summer have stayed pretty small. But I still think we're gonna have a fruitful garden. We've started having some hotter days here, and the tomatoes have started growing a bit more for us, so have the peppers, and our squash are taking off as well. So not all is not lost, but things are definitely smaller than they normally would be in South Carolina at this time of year. Before taking another step down into our vegetable garden, I wanted to take you around our urban flower terrace. So many flowers, like these black-eyed Susans here behind me, are in full bloom, and it's been wonderful having all sorts of bouquets for the house. There have been so many of these. I'm surprised with transplanting them this year at how many flowers we've been getting. It's been beautiful. Our snapdragons are blooming, our coneflowers or echinacea are blooming, some of the zinnias are starting to bud, so are the sunflowers. So we have so much going on in here that I thought I'd give you a quick walk around so you can enjoy the beauty that we have in our flower and herb terrace right now. So next up here is our vegetable terrace. And like I said earlier, things are pretty small for this time of year for our area. Behind me here you can see our peppers, and you can see they're pretty small, and especially since some of them are starting to set fruit. So let's take a closer look around. So as you can see, we do have some pretty good sized fruit popping up on the plants, even though these are fairly small. We'll probably harvest these young as green peppers, just so that it gives the plant a chance to keep on growing. We also have the radishes, a few radishes left over that we interplanted here earlier on. We only have a couple more bunches left. A lot of them are starting to split on us now that we're getting some heat and rain, but it's been nice to have a few extra bunches of radishes coming out of the garden this early summer. We only put a handful of squash plants in our family garden since Growing Green grows quite a few squash plants, a whole 30 by 90 foot bed of them. So we have a few in here for our own personal eating, but we usually get whatever seconds or giant clubs of zucchini that come out of their garden. But these, you can see these are prolific. We've already had a couple meals off of these plants. And we've got some more I need to harvest today as well. So our potatoes have been growing great, at least above ground this year, even with some of the potato beetles munching away on them. Some of them here you can see they have come and gone as far as blooming goes, and that's a good sign that we are getting close to the harvest date. Once they have bloomed, they're going to start dying off on us, which is when we are going to be harvesting our potatoes. Our tomatillos started off a bit scraggly this past year, but they have definitely recovered at this point, and they are full of blossoms and there's fruit starting to set, so we cannot wait to start canning our green salsa for the year. So we've had a few really hot days at the beginning of June, just a couple of them, but the tomatoes really appreciated that, and you can see that they have definitely grown in the past month compared to the previous month. I've also pruned them up for the first time since they finally started growing, so they are looking beautiful right now. And we do have a few little fruit settings, so let's take a look around. With the cooler spring and early summer we've had this year, our lettuce has been doing fantastic. We have all sorts of different types of deer tongue, romaine, butterbib, and stuff intermixed in here. This one is a little hard for it to capture on camera, but it's a beautiful ruby color that we really love adding to our salads. We also love the Foreign-Chalice heirloom variety. It's so speckled, makes a beautiful splash of color in every salad that we make. With the few warm days that we have started having in the forecast, one of our lettuce plants has started bolting on us. As you can see right here, it's starting to get a little tall. That one's also starting to get a little bit bitter, so we're probably gonna let that one bolt, and we'll be collecting its seed later this summer. I'll link below to a blog post that we wrote on how to save your own lettuce seed, as most of the lettuce that we're growing this year in our garden is from self-saved seed from the past. Next up is our more miscellaneous section of the garden. We've been having steady harvests of kale from here as our okra plants work to get established. And it looks like we even have some stunted miniature okra this early summer. These will definitely get a little bit taller. This happened to us last year as well, as it just took a little bit longer for them to get a bit taller, but okra does love the heat, so it's just waiting and biding its time to really get growing. Our chard has also started producing for us, not as prolifically as the kale this year, but we're definitely getting a few bags of that in our freezer for future winter soups and enjoying it fresh on our plates. Behind them there, you can see our green beans. They have been loving the last few weeks and they have taken off. They're loaded with flowers, so I expect to see green beans on them probably within the next week. Along this next row of the trellis, we have some red drying beans along with some yellow pole beans that are over in the far end there. They already got their runners out, so we'll have to help them get trained up this trellis here. Next to them, we have our pickling cucumber plants, and they are loaded with blossoms. I haven't seen any fruit ready to harvest yet, but they are so full of blossoms, especially as you start taking a closer look in here. I mean, look at all those flowers. Got some little fruits in there, so it won't be long now before we'll be making lots of pickles. On each side of this row here, we have different types of black beans. So we have our black turtle, bush beans here, and then underneath our trellis, we have Cherokee Trail tier beans. You can see both sides are thriving, both types are thriving. We have more lettuce that we've interplanted here, along with a little bit more kale, just to supplement what we had planted over in the tomato section. This last section here, we had some old Anasazi bean seeds that my dad wanted me to try growing for him. As you can see, they didn't grow the best. We have one on this side and a handful on that side of the trellis. And then the rest of the space, nothing germinated. So along this area, I'm planning on planting some more seeds today, some flower seeds like calendula, some more successions of sunflowers. So we'll be filling in this area more with flowers this year. Now on this side, since I didn't have any more of my old seed, I had a few melon seeds. So we have some watermelon and some cantaloupe coming up here. And since this is at the edge of our garden, it has all the space for it to take over. So we'll be training it that direction, trying to keep it out of our paths and our flower bed over here to our left. Well, thank you for joining me on a walk around our herb, flower, and vegetable garden here at Cottage Farmstead this morning. We hope your gardens are growing just as well, even with this cool spring that we've been having. It's really exciting to see the fruit of our labor of getting this garden established from scratch this year is about to pay off. In a few short weeks, it's going to be high food preservation season, so we're so excited to see what our first garden here on this new homestead produces. And with that, we'll catch you next time.